Hello everybody out there in the internet land. I'm Dakian. I'm welcoming you to my painting update video for Monday, the 28th of September 2015. You're looking at some completed Reaper fantasy miniatures that I was thinking maybe I could use for Frostgrave. These guys who have a sword and dagger. You can't tell it here. He has a sheath. He has a sword on his hip and a dagger attached to his boot. These would be treasure hunters, and this elf here would be a tracker. I know I talked about doing NMM on his polearm and so forth, but in the end I just didn't feel like it. I just painted normal metallics, and yeah, they're alright. I'm kind of getting, I don't know if it's the word is bored or frustrated or what it is, but painting these fantasy miniatures with all the fantasy stuff on them is starting to annoy me slightly, because you get guys like this where it's all just leather, it's all just pouches and packs and scabbards and armor and clothing, and you have to think up 25 different colors for leather, and it's kind of annoying. I suppose I could have done some of the stuff underneath his armor as fabric in some other color, but oh, I don't know. And often there's so many straps and buckles and whatnot that you're wondering, what is this stuff? I mean, what does it even represent? I guess I'm asking for some sort of realism here, which is perhaps not something you should ask for in a fantasy miniature, but if I'm going to paint something, I need to have some sort of real-world reference to how would this look if I actually painted it up. If this were real life, what would it look like? I'm rambling here. I think what I'm trying to say is that I think I want to paint more modern miniatures. Stuff that's more realistic. Yeah, maybe so. Anyway, these three guys are unfortunately all that's been completed this week. These are the only three minis that I've gotten to 100% completion. There's a lot more that's work in progress, and that's part of the way along, and I'll be showing you that soon. But yeah, this is it for now. So this is where I'm at with the basis for the Waldgeists, and I would say they're about 95% done. I could work on them more. I can make the colors pop more, especially the reds and the greens. And this one, they're not very distinct. But I'm thinking if I do that, it might detract from the actual miniatures themselves. So I might not want to do that, actually, but keep it a little bit subdued. What's this shiny stuff? This is a product called Realistic Water by Secret Weapon. I'm kind of debating whether to continue using it, because I think this is really something that should be put on last. I mean, even after varnishing. Doing it now might be sort of a waste of time, because what I'm looking for is to get an effect of kind of mucky water running here. But I think what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to have to let this coat dry because it takes 24 hours, and then I'm going to just put on some gloss coat, and then a very thin wash, maybe a green wash on top, and then once that's dried, seal that in as well. So you could sort of sandwich in a wash between layers of gloss coat or varnish, and that'll provide like a film over the top of this stuff. Yeah. And then of course at the end, at the end of the varnishing process, put gloss on this as well to make it shiny, like reflections off water. Let's see how that theory pans out. Well, here we have the Waldgeists themselves, which have been assembled and primed, and they were kind of fiddly to assemble, honestly. A lot of these spines on the back were separate pieces, and finding out exactly where they fit was difficult. And one of them I added to this guy. The tail, so to speak, was obvious where it should be. This one I added on because I didn't know where else to put it. I'm not sure it should go there, but it looks all right, doesn't it? And getting them to stick, because the connection points are very small, and super glue is not the best thing in the world, but oh well. I think painting them though was going to be easier than assembly, because you know the box art only has them in like two colors, a green and a brown. I can show it again. Like a greenish body, a brownish red limbs and spines, and red eyes. That's really just two colors. It's going to be, if I follow this guide, it's going to be extremely simple. And it will certainly be done by next week. So if I'm going to be playing Waldgeists, the most important ability they have almost is that they can make trees appear. They have an ability called Germinate, which lets you place tree markers that block line of sight and provide cover. And so I needed some trees. I picked up some, oops, let me slow down. I picked up some extra 50mm basis and this bag of the cheapest modeling railroad trees I can find. 25 trees for 250 kroner. That's 10 per tree, which is, I mean, that's not a lot of money. That's like $1.25 in American, and less than £1 in UK money. And yeah, I'm gonna just slap together some simple tree markers by gluing them to bases and adding some grit and grass for undergrowth, and Bob's your uncle. Dun dun dun! It's the return of Bones. Why am I prepping even more minis, you ask? Well, because I'm feeling a bit pressured by not producing anything, by not finishing any minis, or not many at least. So I'm thinking, what can I paint very quickly to drive my numbers up? Well, Bones, of course. And I thought these are kind of interesting. These will be pretty fast, I hope. These are the water elementals. Well, these two guys are actually the same, and this one is similar in that these three are actually made of ice because they have sharp edges. This is a water weird, and this is a water elemental, actual water elemental, and they're in translucent plastic, so I'll have to paint them a bit differently than normal minis. I haven't primed them. I've primed the fountain that this thing is coming up out of course. But otherwise, I used the trick of spraying matte varnish on them. And you might wonder, matte? Isn't that going to kill the translucency, the shine of it? Well, maybe, but I'm putting some layers of paint, or at least ink, on top of it anyway. And then I'm gloss varnishing it at the end. So that's going to bring the shine back, I think. Anyway. I think these will be fun. Even though I say I hate painting bones, these actually seem interesting. Let's hope they turn out to be that way. Well, let's move on. Well, hello, who are these guys? I'm not sure what they're called actually. These I mentioned that I picked up some Heresy miniatures, and these are not the ones I ordered, but I got two these as bonus figures. Just because Heresy is such a nice company, they were just added to my package, and they seem to be some sort of futuristic gang members, maybe cyberpunk themed. One's packing an assault rifle and the other a katana, and they both have shaved heads and shades, as in glasses, which is nice because they don't have to paint their eyes there. And yeah, and so I thought, since I never painted anything from Heresy Miniatures before, why not just paint these up quickly and see what they're like. And so far I like working with them. They're nicely sculpted and the casting is good. Not much in the way of mole lines and no imperfections of any kind. And so far I've just primed them. I'm gonna give them some, simple paint jobs, and we'll see how they turn out. So, yeah, the purchasing bug bit me again this week, and it's gonna continue to bite me for a while, I'm afraid. There's this Kickstarter coming up that I need to back, and a sale over at a certain retailer, and yeah, the drill. It's what happens. So that's part of the reason I have to get back into the bones and try to do some speed painting to get my numbers up into check. Why am I showing you these old figures, the ones that I painted? Well, I was talking earlier this video about how I felt, something you might call a little bit of burnout when it comes to fancy miniatures painting. And so I looked back on what did I enjoy painting the most this year? I mean, the past 6 months or so. And it's these guys. It's these 1920s, more or less modern day minis. And if you remember what I was saying about the fantasy minis, that you don't know what they're supposed to represent, actually, that's the good thing about a guy like this. He's wearing a hat and a trench coat and pants, and you know what those look like. That's fun to paint. That's easy to paint. And this guy is just wearing a jacket and pants, and he's got a pistol and a fez. That's slightly unusual, but I mean, contemporary clothing, you know how that looks on a person. You don't need to go out and get reference, and you don't need to puzzle it out. What is this funny strap here, or whatever? It's obvious and very clear, and that makes it interesting. That's I found that I enjoy that. So the conclusion is, I can't stop painting fantasy miniatures completely because I need to for certain games, and of course I need to paint Malifaux, which is semi-fantasy. It's steampunk-esque. It's kind of on the border. I mean, some of the human minis for Malifaux, they're dressed sort of normally, not fantasy style, but like 19th century, late 19th century Victorian style at least, which is kind of modern, and that's interesting too. But I'm going to try to add some more contemporary or near future or near past minis, like those cyberpunk gangers I showed you. That's probably a good example of what I want to put into the mix of stuff I'm painting in order to keep my interest high. Yeah. In other news, I just uploaded a review yesterday of a certain product. Go back and look at that if you missed it. I'm planning another review that I'm not sure will get done this week, possibly by the weekend, like next Sunday maybe, or the week during the week after. We'll have to see. Yeah, but otherwise I hope you had a good time listening to me ramble. And, please leave any comments you might have. And I will see you next time. Until then, Dakian is signing off.